Have you ever had a bank freeze your money for absolutely no reason, then treat you like garbage when you tried to fix it? Well, this is the story of how I spent $3 on Russian bots to absolutely destroy my credit union's social media, and got all my money back plus compensation within 24 hours. This is a story about the power of fake internet outrage, the dangers of terrible customer service, and why you should never underestimate what angry customers can do in the age of social media. Let's dive in. For reasons I still don't fully understand, I made the decision to trust a very small, local credit union with some of my money. This wasn't one of the big national banks with thousands of branches. This was a tiny community credit union with maybe 3 or 4 locations total. I thought it would be a good idea. Support local businesses, right. More personalized service, right. Better interest rates, maybe. Wrong. So incredibly wrong. Everything started out fine. I opened an account, deposited some money, got a debit card. Normal banking stuff, no problems for the first few months. And then one day, my card stopped working at an ATM. I was trying to withdraw cash from one of the credit union's own ATMs, and my card just wouldn't work. It wasn't declined for insufficient funds, I had money in my account. It wasn't a damaged card, it was relatively new. The machine just kept rejecting it with a vague error message. So I did what any reasonable person would do. I walked into the branch and asked for help. The clerk at the counter was actually pretty helpful, surprisingly. She explained that sometimes the magnetic strip on cards can have issues, and while they ordered me a new card, she could give me a special code that would allow me to withdraw cash directly from my account without using the card. This wasn't some special treatment or secret workaround. This is an actual feature the bank offered. A temporary access code for situations exactly like this. She gave me the code, I used it to withdraw some cash, and I thought that was the end of it. Problem solved, right, wrong again. Fast forward a few days. I tried to use my debit card to buy groceries, and it was declined. Okay, maybe the card issue wasn't fully resolved. I tried using the online banking app to transfer some money, and I couldn't access my account. It said something about my account being under review. I called the bank's customer service line, and that's when I learned what had happened. Apparently, the bank's system had flagged my account for review because of some accounting error related to that cash withdrawal code I'd used. The system was late in processing the deduction from my balance or something technical like that. I didn't go into overdraft. I didn't bounce any checks. There was no fraud. It was just a minor technical error on their end. And their solution to this minor technical error that they caused: lock my entire account, freeze all my funds, cut off my access to my own money. For over a month. Let me repeat that. They froze my account, with all my money in it, for over a month, because of a mistake that they made. When I first called to ask about this, I was told my account was under review and they couldn't give me a timeline for when it would be resolved. Just, under review. I called back the next day. Same answer. Under review, no timeline, can't help you. I called again a few days later, increasingly desperate because I needed access to my money to pay bills. This time, the customer service representative gave me an answer that was, let's call it less than professional. She implied that these reviews take time when there are discrepancies with accounts. The way she said it made it sound like I had done something wrong, like I was under investigation for fraud or something. I explained, very calmly, that the discrepancy was caused by their own system and their own cash withdrawal code. She basically told me that didn't matter, the review process was the review process. I called multiple times over the next few weeks, and here's where it gets really bad. Some of the customer service representatives started making comments about my last name. My last name is foreign sounding. It's not a typical American name, and some of these customer service reps would mispronounce it deliberately, make little comments, or just have this tone of voice that made it very clear they didn't like dealing with someone with a foreign name. One person literally said, well, with a name like that, I can see why the system flagged your account. What does that even mean? How is my name relevant to a technical banking error? It became very clear, very quickly, that this credit union didn't care about helping me. They had my money locked up, they were giving me the runaround, and some of them were being casually xenophobic about it. I was furious, but I also felt powerless. What was I supposed to do? Sue them? That would cost more than I had in the account. File a complaint with banking regulators? That would take months and might not even help. So I did what people do when they're frustrated. I called my family back home to vent. I called my family, explained the whole ridiculous situation, and just vented my frustration. Most of them were sympathetic but didn't have any practical advice. But then my younger cousin, who's very tech savvy and spends way too much time on the internet, came up with an absolutely brilliant idea. He said, you know what you should do? Use one of those Russian bot services to flood their social media with complaints. I had no idea what he was talking about. Russian bot service? What? He explained that there are these websites, mostly based in Russia, where you can pay people very small amounts of money, we're talking a few Russian rubles per post, to do basically anything on social media. Post comments, like things, share content, write reviews, whatever you want. The going rate is laughably cheap because the ruble is worth almost nothing. At the time, 1 Russian ruble was worth approximately 1 US cent. So you could pay someone 1 ruble, 1 cent, to post a comment or review. My cousin had heard about these services being used for everything from boosting social media engagement to review bombing businesses to political astroturfing. And he thought, why not use it against this terrible credit union? I was skeptical at first. Would it actually work? Was it legal? Was it ethical? But then I thought about how this bank had frozen my money for over a month because of their own mistake, how they'd given me terrible customer service, how some of them had made xenophobic comments about my name. And I thought, you know what? Let's try it. Finding one of these services was surprisingly easy. My cousin sent me a link to a website that looked like it was designed in 2005, with broken English everywhere and a very sketchy payment system. The website offered various services. You could buy likes, comments, reviews, shares, whatever you wanted, across multiple platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Google reviews, you name it. And the pricing was insane. Like, genuinely absurd. For the equivalent of $3 US, I could purchase hundreds of posts. The website even had options for what kind of profiles you wanted posting. You could choose between American-looking profiles, European profiles, Asian profiles, whatever. They had fake accounts set up all over the world, apparently. I chose American-looking profiles, obviously, since I wanted this to look like legitimate complaints from real customers. Then came the fun part, writing the complaint text. I used some AI prompts to generate a variety of different complaints that all sounded authentic but covered different issues. Some complained about frozen accounts. Some complained about rude customer service. Some complained about long wait times. Some mentioned discrimination. Some just said the bank was terrible and everyone should avoid it. I made sure none of the complaints were identical, because that would look suspicious. But they all hit the same themes: poor service, frozen accounts, rude staff, incompetence. I paid my $3, the best $3 I have ever spent in my entire life, and activated the campaign. Within hours, the credit union's Facebook page, Google reviews, and Twitter account were absolutely flooded with negative comments and reviews. Hundreds of them, all from different accounts, all posted within a short time frame, all complaining about similar issues. It was beautiful, absolutely beautiful. The Facebook page went from having maybe a dozen reviews, mostly positive, to having hundreds of reviews with an average rating of like 1.5 stars. The comments section on their post was just wall-to-wall complaints. Google reviews showed a similar pattern. Their rating dropped dramatically. On Twitter, every single post they made got bombarded with replies from angry customers complaining about terrible service. I sat back and watched it happen in real time, and I have never felt more satisfied with a purchase in my life. Here's the best part, this all happened on the same day I launched the campaign. The same day, that afternoon, I got a phone call from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something told me I should. It was the credit union's call center manager, not a regular customer service rep, but the actual manager of the call center. She introduced herself very politely and said, "I understand you've been having some issues with your account, and I want to personally apologize for the frustration this has caused." I almost laughed. After a month of being given the runaround, suddenly they wanted to apologize. She continued, "I've reviewed your account, and I can see that this freeze was caused by an internal processing error on our end. This should never have lasted this long, and I'm very sorry for the inconvenience." She then said something that made it very clear they knew something was up. "I understand you're frustrated, and even if you no longer want to maintain an account with us, we want to make this right." She offered to immediately unfreeze my account and process a transfer of my full balance to any other bank of my choosing. And as compensation for the inconvenience, they would include an additional $50. $50, as an apology for freezing my account for over a month because of their own mistake. It wasn't much, but it was something, and more importantly, it meant I could get my money back. I accepted the offer. I gave her the routing information for another bank I had an account with, and she promised the transfer would be processed that same day. And it was. By that evening, all my money, plus the $50 compensation, was safely in my other bank account. Problem solved. Here's what I think happened behind the scenes. The credit union's social media person, or maybe their marketing manager, noticed the sudden flood of negative reviews and comments. This kind of thing is a PR nightmare for small businesses, especially banks, which rely heavily on trust and reputation. They probably immediately started investigating, trying to figure out what was going on. Were they being targeted by competitors? Was there a legitimate wave of angry customers? What caused this? They probably couldn't find a clear link to any specific incident or pattern. The complaints were varied enough that it didn't look like one person's campaign. But the timing and volume were suspicious. At some point, someone smart at the bank probably realized two things. First, they had at least one customer, me, who had a very legitimate reason to be extremely angry with them, and who had been complaining for weeks. Second, there was no way to definitively prove that I was behind the social media flood, but it was probably easier to just resolve my complaint than to try to fight hundreds of fake reviews. So they called me, offered to fix everything, and strongly hinted that they'd like to end this on a positive note. The bank manager never directly accused me of being behind the social media campaign. She couldn't, but the timing of her call, the urgency with which they resolved my issue, and the specific way she phrased things, "Even if you don't want to maintain an account with us," made it clear they suspected something. And honestly, I didn't care. They froze my money for a month because of their own mistake. They gave me terrible customer service. Some of their staff made xenophobic comments about my name. As far as I'm concerned, they deserved every negative review, real or fake. Here's the thing about those Russian bot services, once the posts are made, they're made. There's no undo button. Those hundreds of fake reviews and comments are permanent, or at least, they're as permanent as anything on the internet. The credit union would have to manually report each individual post and review, go through each platform's removal process, and hope that the platforms actually remove them. That could take weeks or months. Some might never get removed. So even though my issue was resolved, the credit union's social media reputation was permanently damaged. Their Facebook rating tanked, their Google reviews are full of complaints, their Twitter mentions are a disaster. And honestly, that's someone else's problem now, not mine. Some small part of me feels a tiny bit bad for the innocent employees who worked there and had nothing to do with freezing my account or giving me bad service. But a much larger part of me thinks that if a business treats its customers this badly, it deserves the consequences. So what did I learn from this experience? First, small banks and credit unions aren't automatically better than big banks. They can have terrible customer service, outdated systems, and incompetent management just like any large corporation. Don't assume local means better. Second, in the age of social media, reputation is everything, especially for small businesses. One viral complaint, one bad review campaign, one social media disaster can absolutely destroy a small business's reputation. Third, there are some truly bizarre and powerful tools available on the internet if you know where to look. For $3, I was able to create what looked like a massive wave of genuine customer outrage. That's simultaneously amazing and kind of terrifying. Fourth, and this is important, I don't necessarily recommend doing what I did. Using fake reviews and bot accounts is ethically questionable at best, and depending on how it's done, it might violate terms of service or even laws in some jurisdictions. I got away with it, but that doesn't mean it was the right thing to do. That said, if a business freezes your money for a month because of their own mistake, refuses to fix it, and treats you poorly while doing so, I'm not going to judge you too harshly for fighting back however you can. And finally, the most important lesson, never, ever underestimate what angry customers can do in the age of social media. One genuinely angry customer with $3 and an internet connection can create a PR nightmare that costs a business far more than whatever they saved by screwing that customer over. So that's the story of how I spent $3 on Russian bots to get revenge on a credit union that froze my money. Did I go too far? Maybe. Was it ethical? Probably not. Do I regret it? Not even a little bit. The credit union learned a valuable lesson. Don't freeze someone's money for a month because of your own mistake, and definitely don't be rude to them while you're doing it. Because in the modern world, even the smallest customer can fight back in ways you can't predict. To the credit union's social media manager, I'm sorry your job got harder because of this. But also, you might want to talk to your management about improving their customer service and not freezing accounts for no reason. To anyone else dealing with a terrible bank, I'm not saying you should do what I did. I'm just saying that for $3, anything is possible. And to those Russian bot accounts that are still out there posting negative reviews, thank you for your service. You were worth every penny. Or ruble, whatever. So what do you think? Was this justified revenge, or did I cross a line? Have you ever dealt with a bank that froze your money for no reason? How did you handle it? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this story of creative financial revenge, hit that subscribe button for more tales of petty justice and internet chaos. Thanks for watching, and remember, be nice to your customers, because you never know who has access to Russian bot farms. I'll see you in the next one.